I think that a lot of times the career maidens, as we call them, maybe a horse that started 17, 18 times, and they're picking up a little piece of the pie each time, but they're not winning, and they're running in maiden special weight. They may be a horse that is a notch below maiden special weight, and you'd be surprised. Maiden special weight to a maiden $50,000 claiming race, the class difference is dramatic, and it may be a horse that has just been purely overmatched. You may see another horse that has started at different levels and continues to run the seconds and thirds and just doesn't want to win. And I believe that those horses, they lose their heart a little bit. You can think of it as when you were a little kid and you were running in PE class, and there were certain guys you just couldn't outrun, and there was nothing more deflating than when I was running as fast as I could run, and here comes the same guy, Larry Pierce, running by me every single day, and it broke my heart. I knew I couldn't beat Larry Pierce, and there's certain horses that know that they're just not capable of winning. At least they get that in their head that they're not capable of winning.
Every once in a while, you'll see an old war horse, one of those old claiming horses that suddenly walks into the paddock and just looks better than he's ever looked before. And when you can see a horse that's run 20, 30, 40 times and they still come in looking like a young horse, well, that's a great play in my mind.
There's also other ways to look at class, just certain horses. Think of a horse like Zenyatta recently. Probably the most recent horse that just exudes class. Her name is synonymous with class. So the way a horse carries him or herself, the way the horse performs at different levels is capable of just handling whatever's thrown at him. That's a classy horse, which is obviously different than the condition of a race, which you could also call class.
Well, it's very important, first of all, to understand the conditions. Let's say, for instance, if you have a 10,000 open claimer versus a horse that just broke his maiden for maiden 10, you have a big difference in class, and that's important when you're entering horses, trainers, or owners, or as from a handicapping standpoint, that you need to realize that the horses that the maidens ran against, every single horse in the race never won a race, versus a horse that is running in a wide open $10,000 claimer, or let's just say even a wide open $5,000 claimer, that those horses may have won 10 races at higher levels at some point in their career. And pretty much if you pay attention to those types of things, I think that it'll help your handicapping.
It's a 6-furlong race. You start off looking at the conditions of the race first and foremost. This is a claiming race for non-winners of 2 lifetime. So N2L means non-winners of 2 races lifetime. All these horses should have 1 career victory. And if you look down through the lifetime records, as you see here with the number 1 horse, 5 career starts, 1 win. You'll see similarly all these horses in the race only have 1 career victory. Now we want to look at the class of the race. This is a 25,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime. In the class of the race, you'll see that in this middle column here is where the class of each horse's previous races are. The number 1 horse last time ran in a Lowndes Company. Previously ran in a Lowndes Company. Previous to that was in a Lowndes Company. Today is in for a $25,000 claimer. This horse is what we say is dropping in class. I mark that with an arrow down so that when I scan back, I know the number 1 horse faced tougher horses in the past and now today is facing easier competition.
We have to win every time we come to the races because there's stats now. People can see how your batting average is, and I promise you, if you go 3 for 80 the next couple months, you're going to lose some horses. Owners are going to move them. So we are not worried about gambling. We're worried about trying to win and keep a high batting average so everybody's happy. And the purses are so good that I think, and I think I speak for most trainers, that we're all trying very hard every time we bring a horse over here.
One of the most important things you do as a trainer is evaluate how much talent your horse has and try to place them accordingly. So, you know, one of the benefits that we have by having a big diversified stable is we get to see kind of how horses stack up against other horses in the barn. And so if we have an idea that, you know, we have a graded stake horse and you know, an unstarted horse is able to keep up with them in the morning, that gives us a, you know, real good idea of what we have.
And it's fun for us to see what we have. And as far as maximizing what you have to get them started. And we have great help We have good exercise riders. Jockeys come and help us break them from the gate and learn what we have. And we are always trying everything before we give up on one, because you never know if they're going to be turf, long, short, dirt, turf, or synthetic now. So you have a lot of options, and we try and make sure we figure out all those and don't leave anything unknown, because you don't want to leave a well-bred horse out there and say you need to run him for 25 claiming, and he turns out that he wanted 1.5 miles on the turf. And it has happened to all of us. It happened to me once before. So you try and do everything you can before you get rid of the horse.
Well, usually you try and race where you're stabled because you have an advantage being there. You've trained over the track. But sometimes a race doesn't go, or you don't have the proper race. You're looking for a stake race or something, and you need to go to a different track. And basically we just try and fit the horse most closely to the race. Like when we ship, you might run a horse here that is going to be 6 or 7 to 1, or there'll be 3 or 4 horses in there tougher. But like when we ship, particularly, we try and be first, second, or third choice, or because it's a lot of expense involved, and it's a long day, and like you'd like to think you have your best advantage.
I know a lot of people love to look at our figures and say, oh, gee, these Delaware horses are 10 points too high, or there was some guy with a blog said, gee, this horse ran such and such a figure at Churchill Downs. If he'd run in New York, it would have been 13 points higher. I mean, everybody has different opinions that, certain tracks may be high or low, but we've got a computer program that lets us analyze the whole population of horses shipping from one track to another. And one of the things I am most confident about in the buyer speed figures is that they are in line with each other, from coast to coast.
Non-winners of a race in the last 6 months, non-winners of a race in the last year, non-winners of 2 races in the last year. Those are much easier conditions than a straight condition, even at the $5,000 level. A drop from 5,000 straight to 5,000 non-winners of a race in the last year can be a huge class drop because the competition is that much easier. These horses haven't visited the winner's circle in a long time.
And that's where I think a great trainer can come into play, and if someone who knows how to maneuver their way through the different class hikes and drops, be sure that you're looking at the right barn. If the barn doesn't do well and a winning percentage is a total, chances are that a class drop or class hike that seems suspicious probably won't be profitable. If it's a great barn, like say in California, like a Mike Mitchell or a John Sadler, you're probably going to get some reasoning behind why they're doing what they're doing, some expertise, and then I would say go with it. I look at class from that perspective as a great, as always, betting opportunity, because a lot of times you hear in racing about back class and how the horse has the back class. One time they were way up there, and if they ran to their best back to that time, they stand out. Well, in my mind, that's an opportunity, because let's not live in the past, let's live in the now. And how are these horses running now? So I think back class presents a great betting opportunity strictly from a everyday handicapping perspective.
Well, I know you're not what you used to be physically.
No.
So that's a very good point, because a horse may have been a grade 2 horse a few years ago and they've slid down the class ladder, and there's different reasons why. It could be a physical situation, or the horse might not have the will to win that they once had.
And as James said, about back class being a potential place to maybe play against a horse, I'm very much on the same page. I'd much rather have a sharp $10,000 claimer hiking to 25 than a dull allowance horse dropping into 25. I want the now horse, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the better price on the horse who's in sharp form coming up in class than the horse who's in dull form looking for just an easier bunch, needing a confidence-building win.
To me, a horse has to earn their class. They have to do it in graded 6 competition. They have to show some guts. They have to show some grit 2-year-olds are running on physicality. Some of them mentally develop more quickly than others. 3-year-olds and 3-year-old stakes, they're still earning their class. So you could have a horse that just won a maiden race or just won an allowance race, step up in the graded stakes competition in the 2-year-old ranks or 3-year-old ranks and perform very well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some of these 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, like you said, they make this huge leap where we'll call it hidden class or just it's genetics coming through, where they all of a sudden flourish like that. A good example for me is Curlin. Curlin, makes his debut in January of 2007. All of a sudden, he becomes this freak of nature, where it's just out of this world. When you get to the older horses, you won't see that kind of jump. In fact, it'll probably be a reversal in class where they regress that quickly. But the 2-year-old and 3-year-old stakes, it's really tough to find that class and have it stick there.
Looking for a fun and easy way to learn more about horse racing? Night School, Tuesday nights. Enjoy access to top racing insiders via chat, video, and radio. Night School caters to fans at all levels. Miss a class? Read the archive. Night School, Tuesday nights. See you then.